Today, instead of the Achi Sang practice, we're going to do the Guru Yoga chants because I'm on the road actually, and so no incense offering. Thala thawa jebe da nobar jebe geng tarba dan tamje kempe bardu chopra jeba tam chege so jebe ma nang khadang nyampe senchen tamje dewa dan den Dunga dandre nudu lana me pa yang tabar sobe janju rinpo je topra jan dala dangwa jebe da nobar jebe ge tarba dang tamje kembe bardu jobra jeba tam jege se jebe ma nang kadang nyambe senjen tamje dewa dan den Dunga dandre nudu lana me pa yang tabar sobe janju rinpo je topra jan dala dangwa jebe da nobar jebe ge tarba dan tamje kembe bardu jobra jeba tam jege se jebe ma nang kadang nyambe senchen tamje dewa tam den dunga dandre nudu lana me ba yang dabra sobe chanju rinpo je topra de sama ge ki bardu longa yizum ge wala go Mashe bardu longa yizum ge wala go de ding ne sonde ne ma tsanda samge bardu longa yizum ge wala go zanje chodang soge chonam la chanchu bardu dane kyabzu je dage jinsu gebe sonam ge drola pencher sange dobra sho sange chodang soge chonam la chanchu bardu dane kyabzu je dage jinsu gebe sonam ge drola pencher sange dobra sho sange chodang soge chonam la chanchu bardu dane kyabzu je dage jinsu gebe sonam ge Drola pencher sanje dobra sho monam kadam nyambe senjen tamje dewa dang dewe gyudan tempra gyurje dungyao dang dungyao gi gyudan dewa gyurje dungyao mepe dewa dang me dewa gyurje nirin chadang nidang dewe dang nyong la nabra gyurje monam kadam nyambe Senchen tamje dewa dang dewe kindan dembara gyurje dungyao dang dungyao gi gyudan dewa gyurje dungyao mepe dewa dang me dewa gyurje nirin chada nidhan dewe danyao la nabara gyurje mana kadan nyampe senchen tamje dewa dang dewe kindan dembara gyurje dungyao dang dungyao gi gyudan dewa gyurje Dunga mepe dewa dhame dewa girje nering chadang nidang dewa dangyang la nebra girje. Now, page 12 of the 4-session Guru Yoga PDF, or 112 in the page. I respectfully pay homage with fierce and longing faith of the three types to you, the glorious Guru, Lord of the four kayas, with my body, speech, and mind. I make offerings of all these established things, outer, inner, and other, the one who offers that which is offered. The act of offering are indivisible in essence. This being so, I make this offering of the great single taste, free from elaborations. Grant me the accomplishment of effortlessness. I lay bare the impairments, breakings of the vows of the three vehicles, and rejoice in your liberating deeds. Please turn the wheel of Dharma in accordance with the capacities of those to be trained, and remain here for as long as samsara has not been emptied. I dedicate the merit accumulated in the 3 times to the welfare of wandering beings. I supplicate you, the dharmakaya, great Vajradhara of the 6th family. I supplicate you, the 85 Indian Mahasiddhas. I supplicate you, Tili Prajna Bhadra. I supplicate you, Narunyana Siddhi. I supplicate you, Marpa of Lodra, the translator. I supplicate you, Mila Shepa Durje. I supplicate you, Dao Shunu of Dakpo. I supplicate you, the 3 Siddhas of Kam. I supplicate you, Dorje Gyalpo of Pagdu. I supplicate you, Dorje Jitsen, Dorje Pelda. I supplicate you, Supreme Refuge, Jikten Sumgön. I supplicate you, Dharmalora Nashri. I supplicate you, Kenchen Sutrim Dorje. I supplicate you, Onchen Sonam Drakpa. I supplicate you, Chenga Drakpa June. I supplicate you, Chung O Doje Drakpa. I supplicate you, Toka Rinchen Senge. I supplicate you, Samje Drakpa Sonam. I supplicate you, Chuni Dorje Rinchen. I supplicate you, Tuku Dorje Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Nyani Chuki Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Shinyan Tundrum Gyalpo. I supplicate you, Rinchen Pelgi Gyaltsen. I supplicate you, Chogyao Rinchen Belzang. I supplicate you, Rixin Chuki Gyatso. I supplicate you, Gyawang Kunga Rinchen. I supplicate you, Jetsen Rinchen Punso. I supplicate you, Rinchen Nampar Gyawa. I supplicate you, Penchen Pelgi Gyaltsen. I supplicate you, Chokle Nambar Gyawa. I supplicate you, Tsungme Chogyao Punso. I supplicate you, Drupchen Dashi Punso. I supplicate you, Jason Kunjo Rinchen. I supplicate you, Rixin Chuki Dragba. I supplicate you, Kunjo Trinle Namjao. I supplicate you, Kunjo Trinle Sangpo. I supplicate you, Trinle Dunduk Chujao. I supplicate you, Kunjo Tenzin Drudu. I supplicate you, Tenzin Chuki Nima. I supplicate you, Gyabda Peme Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Jamyan Chuki Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Tuwang Chuki Gyalzen. I supplicate you, Rinchen Tempe Zegen. I supplicate you, Gyawang Tuje Niman. I supplicate you, Rixin Nuden Dorje. I supplicate you, Jason Chuki Lodro. I supplicate you, Gyalcho Shive Lodro. I supplicate you, Jason Dharmakara. I supplicate you, Trisab Tenzin Tubden. I supplicate you, the Dapoka, you protectors of wandering beings. I supplicate you, my kind root Guru. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the rarity of the freedoms and endowments. I still squander away my life. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on impermanence and death, I still fixate on composite phenomena as permanent. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the unmistaken nature of cause and effect. I still pervert what to adopt and what to abandon. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on the sufferings of cyclic existence, I still take the way to the lower realms. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I safeguard the vows of liberation, I still lack renunciation and the determination to be free. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on all wandering beings. I still have bias attachment to friends and aversion for enemies. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate loving kindness and compassion. I still hold on to envy and enmity. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I cultivate aspiration and action bodhicitta, I still focus only on my own welfare. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my body as the deity's exalted form. I still cling to ordinary perception. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I have counted the mantras to be recited, I still waste away my life force. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I cultivate the samadhi of moon in the water. I still solidify things as real and substantial. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I conclude by dissolving in the subsequent stage, I still purify and confess superficially. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on my own mind as free from elaborations, I still have conceptual attitudes. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate grasping at whatever arises, I still affix an artificial watchfulness. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion, reckless and mundane, although I cultivate resting freely in the natural state. I still amplify artificialities. Look upon me with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, although I meditate on unity beyond conceptions, I still get carried away by the masses of likes and dislikes. Look upon me from afar with eyes of compassion. Reckless and mundane, I supplicate you who are my refuge and protector in this and all other lives. Physician who removes the chronic diseases of samsara, hero who vanquishes the enemies that are afflictive emotions, sun which dispels the darkness of ignorance, moon that protects from the heat of suffering, jewel which fulfills all our needs and desires, you Guru who are all-inclusive and all-sufficient. I supplicate you from the depths of my heart with compassion, swiftly heed me. Effortlessly bestow your blessings, grant me now and on this seat the naturally accomplished feast of the two benefits. I am endowed with both merit and devotion. Do not leave my hopes unfulfilled. Don't cast away my devotion in vain. Don't let my supplications vanish unanswered. Don't be indifferent with your compassion, refuge and protector in this life, in the intermediate state and beyond. Whatever occurs, joy or sorrow, good or bad, only you are my hope. Look upon me with eyes of compassion. You alone are my hope. Now the dedication. Jikten Sumgön's dedication prayer. Sublime, precious, venerable, and glorious root and lineage gurus, assembly of Idam deities, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, dwelling in the 10 directions, and all assemblies of Viras, Viranis, Yoginis, and Dakinis, please heed me. If you have the picture, we're now starting on page 99, this picture form. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana and the inherent root of virtue not result in the 8 worldly dharmas, the 4 causes of samsara, and the resultant states of hearers and solitary realizers. And may all mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, particularly those enemies who hate us, obstruct us, who harm, those who create obstacles, maras who mislead, and their mara retinues and happiness, be separated from suffering, and quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, precious Bodhi. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may we benefit sentient beings with body, speech, and mind. May the afflictive thoughts of attachment, aversion, ignorance, pride, and jealousy not arise in my mind stream. May thoughts of name, fame, gain, respect, and so forth in this life not arise for even a moment. With my mind stream moistened by love, compassion, and bodhicitta, may I become a virtuous spiritual friend with good qualities limitless as space. May I achieve the supreme attainment of mahamudra in this very life by the virtues collected in the 3 times by me and the entirety of samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue. May I and all sentient beings quickly attain the unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious Bodhi. Now, we are at this section in the Great Teachings to the Assembly, the Great Drikung Teachings to the Assembly, Chapter 2. We are in this section that the translators have given the subheading of attachment to inner beings. Yesterday we looked at the problem of attachment to outer phenomena. So now to the beings. And so inner, remember, right? It's talking about the container, the physical universe, and then the contents. So the sentient beings that inhabit this physical universe. So the second type of desire is attachment to inner beings, to beings. And it's also the attachment to horses, oxen, men, and women. Because body, speech, and mind have done deeds that followed from such attachment, there is drifting around in samsara. And so samsara is the cycle, the circle of confused wandering, drifting around, wandering around, aimless and purposeless, except that aimless and purposeless, but driven by, right, forced by the forces of the afflictive emotions. So there's drifting around in samsara, in this bottomless and endless ocean of suffering. Don't engage in the many acts of attachment and aversion, such as protecting friends and killing enemies, for the sake of trifles that are not worth holding on to. So it says, because of our attachment, really, to what we like, to who we like, and then we might even go to the extent of generating a lot of aversion towards those we don't like because of protecting those we like. So having relinquished attachment to outer objects and inner beings, this mind of non-attachment is the dharmakaya of the perfectly complete Buddha. So this mind of non-attachment, so again, right, we talk about dharmakaya, sambhogakaya, nirmanakayas. So sometimes, right, these talk about these kayas can sound so distant, so high and mighty ideas. So then to bring this to a level that you and I can experience, can cultivate, Gyalpa Rinpoche explains that this mind of non-attachment, the mind that doesn't fixate, the mind that doesn't get stuck. To be attached is to get stuck. So this mind that doesn't get stuck, this mind that doesn't fixate, this mind that doesn't get frozen, frozen in suffering, frozen in dissatisfaction, frozen in annoyance, frozen in a very rigid kind of frame of mind. To whatever degree we can experience this mind differently, which is to experience this mind free from attachment in this context, that itself is what we mean by dharmakaya. That itself is what we mean by dharmakaya. the reality body, the reality dimension of being of the awakened ones. Then he continues, he says, in our lineage, the mind of non-attachment is called the self-arisen and inborn wisdom of Mahamudra. Again, Vajrayana material, Mahamudra material, Dzogchen material, sometimes have very fancy words, very fancy, the inborn, the, self-arisen, and this and that, right? And so Kyoba Rinpoche says, this self-arisen inborn wisdom of Mahamudra, what does that mean? It means, a mind that is not fixated, a mind that is not attached, a mind that is not grasping. All this talk, all this talk, all this fancy vocabulary, if we have not experienced how this mind can be free from the afflictive emotions, free from the confusion, then it's just a lot of words that don't mean much. So until we can experience, we can actualize what is spoken of here, what is described here, then at best, they are just rumors. They're not exactly something that we have experienced. At worst, these are like lies. Everything depends on intention, is the next section. So when it comes to wholesome, unwholesome, skillful, unskillful, virtuous, non-virtuous actions, what is the chief kind of determinant? What is the chief determinant of whether an action is virtuous or non-virtuous? It depends on intention. It depends on motivation. So here Kyoba says, what is wholesome in the three times means past, present, and future, is a mind that is free from desire, along with the ripened results of the deeds of body, speech, and mind, done under the control of that state of mind. So what is skillful, what is wholesome, is a mind that is free from desire. Here again, let's remember that mind is not a thing. It's not just one thing. Mind are moments of mind. So in any moment of mind where it's free from attachment, free from desire, then in that one moment, in that one instance, right, that is a skillful or wholesome moment of mind. Conversely, what leads to wandering in the three lower states of samsara is a mind afflicted by aversion, along with the deeds of body, speech, and mind, done under the control of that state of mind. And so when the mind is afflicted by aversion, then as a result, when the intention, in other words, when the motivation is based on aversion, then it gives rise to this deeds of body, speech, and mind that is under the control of this averse state of mind. And then this leads to wandering in the three lower realms of samsara, the hell realm, the hungry ghost realm, and the realm of the animals. In short, then the mind afflicted by delusion, along with the ripened results, and that then leads to those deeds of body, speech, and mind done under the control of delusion, leads to wandering in the three lower states of samsara. In short, these three, a mind of the three afflictions, delusion or confusion, attachment and aversion, a mind of the three afflictions and the deeds done under the control of this type of mind, and the ripened results and the playing out of this completely, these are what we call unwholesome in the middle, unwholesome in the beginning, unwholesome in the middle, and unwholesome at the end. Here, beginning, middle, and end would be, beginning would be the intention level, the motivation level. The middle would be then the carrying out under the influence of that intention, under the influence of that motivation, then translating into whether it's a more active mental state of actions, or speech, or physical actions. That's middle. And then the end would be the effect of those types of actions, the fruition of those types of actions. So in the middle and the beginning, the middle, and the end are all becomes non-virtuous. They are unwholesome in the beginning because in this life, they are the origin of everything inauspicious, or sickness, harm, faults, and adverse factors. They are unwholesome in the middle because they lead to the three lower states. And they are unwholesome in the end because they preclude liberation from samsara and its three lower states and so forth. This bottomless and boundless ocean of suffering. And so this is another way of talking about unwholesome in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. And this is referring to the three spans of time. So they are unwholesome in the beginning because in this lifetime, all sickness and harms and faults and adverse conditions that manifest. Unwholesome in the middle because then it leads to the lower realms in the moments forward, in the life forward. Then in the biggest kind of context, they prevent liberation from samsara. What is the dharma that is wholesome in the beginning, middle, and the end? It is a mind free from the three afflictions and the deeds that then are done in relation to these mind, to the mind that is free from these three afflictions. Therefore, whatever you are doing, whether it is acts of giving, keeping moral ethics, activities of the sangha, and so forth, you should first look at your motivation. And so here, right, your motivation, your intention is what determines the quality of your actions. So famously, the Buddha says, motivation or intention is what karma is. There were other spiritual traditions during the historical Buddha's time who understood karma differently. In fact, karma was just a general term for a range of related meanings. And so the different spiritual traditions during the Buddha's time had slightly, and sometimes more than slightly, different explanations for karma. So for example, in the Vedic tradition, karma was seen and understood as the prescribed obligatory ritual activities that is required of you depending on what class you belong to, what caste you belong to, whether you're a man or a woman, in which part of your life, still as a student or as a householder, so that there are these prescribed norms. These prescribed norms, this prescribed set of actions, a lot of them are ritual actions, ritual obligations. They call that karma. They say those are the karmas, and those karmas, performing them maintains order and well-being in the world. Failing to perform them causes disorder and causes bad things to happen in the world. That's the Vedic explanation and use of this idea of karma. Then there were other traditions, non-Vedic, that said karma refers to any and all actions, whether actions with explicit intention or actions that don't have explicit intention. That any action at all, even like doing this, lifting like your pinky finger, as insignificant as that, they say karma has been created. Itchy, scratch, karma. Any and all actions, they say that's what karma is. But the Buddha says, intention, O monks, I say, is karma. So meaning, those actions that are carried out based on intentionality. So in this way of understanding karma, for example, sneezing is not karma. These are just, bodily functioning. Yawning, that's not karma. But if in the moment of about to sneeze, and then you realize you are surrounded by people you don't like, and then in that moment of sneezing, you go, I hope my germs, will go harm these people who is standing so close to me. Then that sneezing becomes a karmic act. Going to sleep, for example, is also said not karma. Well, just nature of the body. Now it's time to go to sleep. You're tired, the body needs to repair itself. Now we know also the brain needs to discard, brain material. So it's not karma. But if you're going to sleep, right, and go, I'm going to wake up and to go cause some trouble, go steal some stuff, then that act of going to sleep becomes a karmic act. Or conversely, I'm going to sleep so that I can wake up early and attend Dharma class. That becomes virtuous karma. I'm going to wake up early so that I can attend Dharma class and be seen by others for attending Dharma class. Slightly not so virtuous karma. It's a mix now. That's what Buddha says. Intentionality is karma. where there is intention, where there are actions that are driven by intentions, and these intentions, if they are based on the three poisons, then they are negative, unwholesome karma. If they are done in the absence of these three, and instead the opposite of these three, with wisdom, with compassion, with not controlling, not possessive, when they're done like that, they become virtuous, they become positive. If you find an impure motivation, a mind that has the three afflictions, even if it is the acts of giving, keeping disciplined conduct, or activities of the Sangha, if you find that they are arising from impure motivation, then it is not right to act out that motivation. So doesn't mean, okay, don't do the giving, don't do the disciplined conduct, but change the motivation. That's best. Change the motivation. If you're like, oh, I'm waking up to attend Dharma class so that people will see me. So the decision or the next step, if when you find that's what's going on, it's not like, oh, I should not attend Dharma class, but rather I should change my motivation. I should try to push aside negative motivation and bring forth bodhicitta instead. Now, if that's not possible, then maybe don't engage in. You don't want to kind of mix, good habits with wrong motivation. Since it would be a deed of affliction, it would bring about the ruin of both yourself and others. If no motivation of the three afflictions is found in the mind, the deeds should be done. The mind free from these three afflictions is brought to perfection through deeds of body, speech, and mind. So when the mind is free from these three afflictions, then letting this motivation manifest in body, speech, and mind, this is brought to perfection. Then when you have awakened to the essence of that mind free from the three afflictions, its actions become the treasure of the inexhaustible wheel of ornaments of body, speech, and mind. This expression, right? Inexhaustible wheel of ornaments of body, speech, and mind. The notion of wheel here is something that turns. Once you turn, once you push, it will keep turning. So this is a fancy way of talking about the inexhaustible exalted activities, the beneficial activities of Buddhas, the inexhaustible. So this one, inexhaustible wheel of ornaments of body, speech, and mind. So here Gyalpa says, so this is like you could say a two levels, 2 degrees of profundity. The basic one is your actions of body, speech, and mind should be free from the three afflictions as motivation. That's the first. Better yet, they are motivated by the opposite of the three poisons. So these two fall under the first. The second one is when you realize the essence of that mind. The essence of the mind that is free from the three afflictions. Here is pointing to the wisdom aspect. The accumulation of wisdom aspect of training. Actions that are free from the three poisons, and actions that are motivated by the opposite of the three poisons, that is related to the part of the path that we call the accumulation of merit. And when actions of body, speech, and mind are coming from, issuing from, an understanding of the nature, the essence, which is emptiness, then now our actions become, here it says, the treasure of the inexhaustible wheel of ornaments of body, speech, and mind. This is the effortless presence and ceaseless arising of the activities that will establish all mothers, all beings as infinite as the vastness of space in the state of happiness, free from suffering, and unsurpassable awakening. These three, happiness, freedom from suffering, and unsurpassed awakening are the three aspects, the three absolutely necessary ingredients of what we call bodhicitta, relative bodhicitta. A wish for all beings to be free from suffering, a wish for all beings to have happiness, and to achieve unsurpassed awakening. I think till now, many of us, it's like, if someone points a gun at you and say, what is bodhicitta? I think many still, no, these three need to be very clear, otherwise you just keep 10 years, 15 years, 20 years after listening to the Dharma, you're still, bodhicitta is postponing enlightenment so that I can help others, and la 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 la. You need to be clear, about some of these basic things. Of course, being clear about some of these basic things, in a way you could say, is still just kind of intellectually clear. But there's something to be said about intellectually clear about these things. Yeah, no doubt that is the first step. But then if you, after 20 years, you have not taken the first step, how in the world are you taking the second step? It's like, you need to know what you are reaching out for to taste. But if you don't know what you're reaching out for to taste, you're tasting a whole bunch of things and have no clarity about what you're tasting. This is the amazing and wonderful Dharma. By no means should you let an affliction, not even the slightest one, mix with it. A motivation of the three afflictions and the deeds of body, speech, and mind done under the control of this motivation, they are unwholesome in the beginning, middle, and end. A motivation free from the three afflictions and deeds of body, speech, and mind done under the control of that kind of motivation, that is what we call wholesome in the beginning, middle, and end. When you understand this, then you know how to practice the Dharma yourself. All activities, therefore, should follow this principle. You will yourself gain confidence, gain understanding of what to practice when we say Dharma practice. And so we have to work, on that confidence, which only you can give yourself. Nobody can give you that. And it says here, apart from that principle, apart from this principle of what makes actions virtuous or non-virtuous, skillful or not skillful, it says apart from that principle, It is not about calling the Lama or Master a Buddha, or being yourself called a hard son, or pleasing the Lama, all these things. This is really good, this one, especially those of us practicing Tibetan Buddhism. Culturally, too much of traditional culture, the way people talk about, my guru is a Buddha, and then by extension, right? It might sound as if, like you saying your guru is a Buddha is talking about your guru. But if you really look deeper into that, you can see that it's really about me. If my guru is a Buddha, or my guru has, easily gets, 10,000 likes, even if he posts, fart. There are gurus like that, not their fault, but their disciples, Oh, everybody like, good. Oh, thank you, Rinpoche, thank you, how profound. And the fact that this person is your guru, you're like, oh, he's my guru. We think, it's about, we're saying something about them, but often if you think more deeply about it, you're saying, look, my guru. Yeah. The more famous my guru, what do you think about me? Then we post photos that we have taken with the guru and this and that and get all. It says, but apart from that principle, this crucial principle of knowing, what are the 10 virtues, what are the 10 non-virtues? And deeper than that, what makes these virtues and what makes it non-virtue? The absence and the presence of the 3 poisons, poisoning the motivation, or keeping the motivation pure. Apart from that principle, it is not about calling the Lama or some master, oh, Buddha. Or, right? Whenever you do that, the implication is, I'm the hard son. My guru likes me. I'm special to my guru. That's the posting photo part, People would post on the occasion these days, right? Actually, Tibetan people until recently, and even many Chinese, I don't know about Japanese and Koreans, generally don't celebrate birthdays until recently. And I think maybe the West probably didn't celebrate birthdays until Hallmark was a business. Some of you know what Hallmark is. Some of you never heard of it. It's these cards, birthday cards. So then everybody started to celebrate birthdays, right? But generally Tibetans, Chinese, they don't celebrate birthdays. But these days, of course, it's become fashionable, right? And then on the guru's birthday, people would post pictures. Usually it's a picture of them and the guru, It's like, ooh, look. Yeah. Again, only if the guru is famous, If the guru is not famous, nobody bothers to post a picture to say, happy birthday, guru. Because you want to be recognized as special, right? Or even pleasing the Lama. Apart from that principle, it is not about pleasing the Lama even. There are many places you read, it's like, the students should please the Lama. But if pleasing the Lama is not done, or done without any understanding of this principle, then it's useless. In general, the Lama should be perceived as Buddha. In general, that's what the Buddha taught. You should work on perceiving the Guru as Buddha himself. This is not to whitewash the behavior of the Guru. This is done because fundamentally we are all Buddhists. So that's part of our training, is to perceive all beings without exception as Buddhas. As a starting point, you train by seeing your spiritual guides as Buddha. But always, right, the footnote is, why? Because all beings are Buddhas. And so if the principle of all beings, if given the principle that all beings are Buddhas, and then especially those beings that are guiding us to realize this, if we are not working on perceiving them as Buddhas, then it's kind of a joke to say all beings are Buddhas. Right? Even my guides I cannot perceive as a Buddha, as Buddhas. How the heck do I perceive all beings as Buddhas? So that's one reason. Another reason is, perceive the Guru as Buddha means, again, not to whitewash, not to whitewash the conduct and the actions of the teacher. But to say that you perceive your teacher as Buddha means you should only learn Buddha-like things from the teacher. You should only learn Buddha-like things from the teacher. As to the teacher's favorite food, favorite, music, favorite movies, favorite whatever, right? Please don't forget, that's not why you're spending time learning. That's not what you're spending time learning. There's nothing to do with Buddha. That's just their own kind of karmic conditioning. Oh, my guru likes spaghetti. Okay, now I got to like spaghetti. Oh, my guru doesn't like spaghetti. I'm not going to have spaghetti anymore. That's the wrong way of seeing the Guru as Buddha. And then to perceive the Guru as Buddha is so that these guides can point us to our own Buddha identity. So here it says, yes, in general, the Lama should be perceived as Buddha. But it is also necessary to keep a sense of what is correct. So this is not unqualified, You should perceive gurus as Buddha. Kyoba Rinpoche is giving a very sensible and important advice here. But it is also necessary to keep a sense of what is correct. When the Lama gives a command to do something that doesn't accord with the Dharma, you should not follow it. Now, let me make it a little bit more complicated. The Lama commands you to do something, right? And you're like, I don't know. That doesn't sound like Dharma, right? So until now, you're like, okay, this advice, good. But then the next moment you say, but maybe it is Dharma. All right, so now you have a doubt, right? Is it or is it not? Some things are very obvious, whether it is or it is not. It's those areas where it's not obvious. There, okay, my personal opinion now, not necessarily what Kyoba is saying. I'm just offering you this. There, I think then, you then need to pause and say, I don't know. Is it or is it not in accord with Dharma? if you carefully reflect on this and you come to the conclusion, maybe not 100% conclusion, but 80%, let's say, you come to the conclusion, no, this does not accord with the Dharma. Then you have to decide, no, I'm not going to do it. Because in my mind, given that I'm confused, but then sincerely I have thought through this and know this is not in accord with Dharma, I'm not going to do it. If this guru is skilled as a guru, has experience as a guru, he or she should not get upset. Should understand and respect, yes, the student has reflected on this, at least on this level of their understanding and ability, they perceive this as against Dharma, right? So a skilled and sincere guru has no reason to get upset over that, right? And to be able to respect that the student has given it thought, and at this point cannot see how what you told them to do is in accord with Dharma, and therefore chooses not to do it. If a teacher throws a tantrum, over this, then you're like, I better look more carefully, is this someone I should train with? So those of you who are still kind of wondering who you should train with, who should be your who should be your coach, you look at things like this, and see. So here, when the Lama gives a command to do something that doesn't accord with the Dharma, you should not follow it. Rather politely say, may you remain in perfect well-being, and then depart. This is saying, please don't get upset. I cannot do this. And leave. Says. Here, depart doesn't mean, hasta la vista, gone. It just means in that moment, like, just excuse yourself. No need to argue, no need to fight, just excuse yourself. Also, the Buddha taught that the only commands of elders and lamas that should not be transgressed are those that accord with the Dharma. He did not teach that any command whatsoever should never be transgressed. In the later teaching in this series, Kyoba Rinpoche seems to be teaching us the opposite of this, but it's not. I just want to say this in case you're reading forward and you say, wait, over here he says this, and then in the beginning he says that. It's not an either or. So when we get to that section later on, it will further nuance the advice that he's giving us on how to properly relate to our spiritual guides, the healthy way, to genuinely develop, and it takes time, cannot be forced. So the karmic connection, there has to be karmic connection there. Anyway, he did not teach, the Buddha did not teach that any command whatsoever should never be transgressed. Even worse than that is, he says, if the Lama tells you to do something that is not in accord with the Dharma, even worse than just doing that, you go on to glorify it, thinking that it will be auspicious, and still run after that Lama, then you are just following your delusion. You have to follow the teacher with faith, but you won't succeed unless you also always follow the Dharma with discriminating insight. Now, of course, again, discriminating insight don't just turn up magically. It's saying it takes time, but you have to build up this insight. Right? It has to be a goal that you're working on. Otherwise, blindly following leads to more blindness. You'll never see the light of day. This is because some masters are false masters. It is impossible not to break your tantric pledges with such a master who does all kinds of wrong things. As I've taught in the Chintamani, false masters are like garlic and poisonous plants. Not garlic. There is a thing, not garlic. There is a plant called literally black garlic. It's a different plant that looks like garlic but is poisonous. So it's not saying garlic is poisonous, okay? False masters are like garlic. No, it's a, I've looked into this because I've come up with my translation of the Chintamani. So I've looked into, and this is actually a false garlic, but it's actually poisonous. It won't kill you, but it will give you stomach upset. Now, false masters are like garlic, poisonous plants. Coming into contact with them makes the 8 worldly concerns rub off on you. To rely on them increases the poisons of the 3 afflictions. To surrender to them severs the life force of liberation. The Buddha and the Lamas have warned us of them, the worst of Maras in the guise of teachers. They are hangmen. Flee from them into the solitude of the forest. Better to run away from these types of masters. But then these days, again, the internet makes it all like, oh, this teacher is doing this, that teacher is doing that, that teacher is doing that, You just grab whatever you can grab. Just be careful. Also not saying, you should be paranoid. You should be suspicious of everyone. It's just saying, be sensible. Try to have some common sense still. Even as you're working to, see all beings as pure, pristine as Buddhas. Beginning by training to see our Dharma guides as Buddha-like. Yes, do that, but be sensible. In a nutshell, this whole section is saying that. When someone has understood for himself what is and what is not Dharma, how could someone else still deceive them? The whole point of even relating and training with spiritual guides is so that we ourselves can see more and more clearly right from wrong. That's the inner Lama. That's the inner Lama. That's the clear light of mind. In the past, there was a leader of 500 Brahmins who taught his retinue that theft would be the Dharma. If you steal, or maybe you steal, to give to the monastery, it's fine. All but one accepted that. The one who didn't obey to the command to steal is who is now our Buddha Shakyamuni. So this is a good Jataka tale to remember. In fact, by appearances, he wasn't a good student. He defied his teacher. His teacher said, for the sake of the Dharma, you should go steal. And Shakyamuni in that lifetime had enough discernment and go, no, I can't do that. So when someone who doesn't understand what is and isn't Dharma practices according to a false master's teachings, it will bring about their own and others' ruin. This is also what is taught in the story of the monkey who wanted to rescue the moon. So this monkey wasn't even trying to cause the death of all the other monkeys. And this is the story of some monkey one day chanced upon a well, looked into it, and he sees the reflection of the moon at the bottom of the well, and he panics. Oh, the moon has fallen into the well, the moon has fallen into the well. And so made a whole big commotion and got all the other monkeys to come, and they're all jumping up and down. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, you know. And so they wanted to save the moon. The chief monkey says, we have to rescue the moon. So how do we do it? We have a rope. They say a rope, no rope. Okay, what should we do? We should form a chain. Strongest monkey at the top, hold the next monkey's hand. Next monkey climbs down, and down and down and down all the way. And the last monkey is supposed to pick up the moon. As they're reaching to the end to reach the moon, the first monkey there got tired, let loose, kaplunk, they all drowned. The story is kind of violent, you know. But that's talking about, this is a false master. And this master is not even trying to cause harm, but itself has no understanding, no wisdom. Even though they're trying to do something good, but from a false understanding. So this is also what is taught in the story of the monkey who wanted to rescue the moon. This is why it is necessary to use discriminating insight in following the Dharma. When what is taught as Dharma is Dharma, and what is taught as non-Dharma is kept and understood as non-Dharma, that should be practiced regardless of who is the source. If the opposite of that is taught, it should be abandoned, even if it comes from your own master. As it says in the letter on the stages of mental purification, like nectar from an unruly thorny plant, one should take up good policy even from one's enemies. So, thorny plant that gives nectar, probably some kind of cactus. So even if it comes from your enemies, if it is something good, you take to heart. Like toxic water flowing from a mountain of gold, one should abandon pleasant but idle talk. And I can say, most of what we say, even most of what you hear me say, mostly idle talk. Pleasant sometimes. So then you say, oh, then what do I do now? If I literally accept what you just said, am I wasting time here? That's not what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting until you can see me trying to actually practice some of these things, really, no matter how fancy I can say it, how nice I say it, that's all just words, And in this day and time, more of us are kind of exposed to these teachings, and these teachings talk about the necessity of finding a guru, finding a lama, but most of what we encounter is just fancy words. Now fancy words are even, very cheap. Why? It's free. It's called ChatGPT. Please make my words fancy. You type in some Dharma words, Ooh, something nice really comes out, and you post, It's so easy, Be a little discerning. This is to say, when a thorny plant has nectar, you should take it without getting hurt by the thorns. So it's not saying, oh, cactus has nectar. Oh, let's go. It's also not saying that. But it's saying with skill, even if it's a thorny plant, you can extract the nectar, the sweetness. In the same way, good policy should be adopted, even if it is an enemy who demonstrates it. Moreover, even if it flows from a golden mountain, if the stream is poisonous, don't drink from it. Likewise, even if they are relatives or most esteemed friends, if their chit-chat instills desire and aversion, abandon it. This is why it is necessary to know what is and isn't dharma and follow that. The very basic foundational matters, what is or is not dharma, I would say you don't need too many guides or gurus even. Teachings on the 10 virtues and 10 non-virtues, that should be clear. And knowing how to distinguish from right and wrong based on absence and presence of the poisons, that should be clear. That should begin in a clear way as like theory. And then, of course, importantly, that theory needs to be experienced. And that is the confidence that we can then develop, Moreover, we need to follow the father-son lineage of Mahamudra and Jikten Sumgön. Although they are referred to as father and son, there's no difference between them, meaning their attainments are the same. It is said that Lama Nyakse, after having been in Jikten Sumgön's presence, said, I didn't see the Drikung Kyopa Jikten Sumgön. Mahamudra was abiding there. So this is Drabajungne's words now. The lives of those two masters were governed by disciplined conduct and meditative absorption, stability of mind. And that is what we have to follow. Disciplined conduct. Disciplined conduct means to practice restraint, to discipline body, speech, and mind. Body becomes quiet, speech becomes quiet, mind becomes quiet. And it says that the Bodhisattva practicing disciplined conduct would not even, very extreme example, but the principle is no fault. Very extreme example based on our kind of limited view, but nonetheless, it says, a bodhisattva, very careful with disciplined conduct, will train him or herself to a point of, will not even kind of like mindlessly, like sitting in the ground outside, right? Will not even like pluck a blade of grass for no reason. How many times in the summer, in a nice spring day, we sit outside, the hands, itchy hands, pluck, 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 pluck. Actually, disciplined conduct has to be such. Now, you cannot practice disciplined conduct, I believe, in a tight way. But nonetheless, we want to, because it's about refining the mind. And when the mind is being refined, has restraint, it translates to speech and action. So that's just an outer indicator. So it doesn't, even the extent of plucking one blade of grass, a bodhisattva is careful not to do that. And it said like a bodhisattva will not even lift a pinky without mindfulness there. So it says, the lives of these two masters are governed by disciplined conduct and meditative absorption. The mind doesn't move. And that is what we have to follow. So today we will stop here. Tonight, well, in the Western Hemisphere is tonight. There is the taking of the refuge vows. And those of you who are from afar, you can always take refuge vows, renew our refuge vows. So you can join us if you want to for the program tonight. Tonight normally is our usual Drikung Dharmakirti Sangha meeting. We meet every Wednesday night. But tonight in particular, because a number of people in the Ashral Sangha requested to formally take refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. So then I said it would be good to do it tonight. Although I'm not in Asheville right now, but I'll be back in time for that. I'm away to give a talk at the college. But tonight we'll do this refuge and renew our refuge vows. Taking refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha is the gateway to all Dharma practice. And then taking refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha means we don't take refuge in other objects of refuge. Not, giving up other objects of refuge out of attachment or aversion, but giving up other objects as refuge, giving up other objects as refuge out of understanding, out of knowing. So we'll hear more of the details tonight. Chanchu semchu rinpoche ma ge ba nam ge gyuji ge ba nyam ba me ba yang gong ne gong tu bel word shu. Okay, ta ta.